Captain Daniel Brooks stared at the screen in front of him. The stars looked different out here, far beyond anything humans had ever seen before. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, had traveled farther than any human vessel in history. They were near Proxima Centauri, and everything had gone perfectly until now. Lisa Martin, the communications officer, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. It's a signal, but it's not like anything we've seen before." Daniel walked over to her station. The rest of the crew watched quietly. Marcus Riley, the first officer, stood up from his seat. "What kind of signal?" "It's old," Lisa said, her voice shaking slightly. "Really old. I think it's a distress call." She worked on the signal for several minutes while everyone waited. Finally, she looked up. "It's from a civilization that died out. They're warning others about something." Before Daniel could respond, the entire ship shook violently. Alarms started screaming throughout the vessel. Jack Peterson, sitting at the weapons station, shouted over the noise. "We're under attack. Unknown ships closing in fast." The view screen changed to show 5 massive alien ships. They were dark and covered in sharp edges, like weapons themselves. Energy blasts hit the Horizon's Edge again and again. The human ship had no real weapons, only basic shields for asteroid protection. "Evasive maneuvers," Daniel ordered. The ship turned hard, but it was too slow. Another blast tore through the engine section. Amy Coleman, the navigator, struggled to keep them moving. Marcus ran to the engineering station where Chris Wallace was working frantically. "How bad is it?" "We're dying," Chris said simply. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Life support failing. We have maybe 5 minutes." Daniel made the hardest choice of his life. Abandon ship. Everyone to the escape pods now. The crew moved quickly but calmly. They had trained for this, though nobody thought it would actually happen. Marcus helped injured crew members toward the pods. Lisa grabbed the distress call data, saving it to a portable drive. Through the view screen, they could see one of the alien ships getting closer. A face appeared on the screen. It was reptilian, with dark scales and yellow eyes. The creature was laughing. It said something in a language they couldn't understand, but the meaning was clear. This was sport to them. Humans were just prey. Jack was one of the last to reach the escape pods. He watched as the alien commander, the one who had been laughing, gave an order. The alien ships fired together. The Horizon's Edge exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Only 3 escape pods got away. Daniel's pod, Marcus's pod, and one containing Lisa, Amy, and Chris. The rest of the crew died in the explosion or were caught in the blast. 43 people had been on that ship. Only 12 escaped. The journey home took 6 months. The pods were designed for short trips, not this. Food ran low. Water had to be rationed carefully. Daniel recorded everything in the pod's log. He wanted Earth to know what happened, to know there were hostile aliens out there. 2 weeks before they reached Earth, Daniel died. His injuries from the attack had been too severe. Marcus took command of the 3 pods and guided them home. When they finally reached Earth, the survivors told their story to the United Defense Council. Admiral Frank Hayes listened to every word. He watched the recordings Jack had saved. He saw the alien commander laughing as humans died. "We were caught unprepared," Frank said quietly. "That will never happen again." He looked at the survivors. "You brought us a warning. We'll make sure humanity is ready next time." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. War was coming. The only question was when. 3 years had passed since the Horizon's Edge was destroyed. Earth looked different now. New satellites filled the orbit, and massive shipyards floated in space where there had been nothing before. The planet had become a fortress. Jake Morrison walked through the hangar bay of the orbital station. He was a test pilot, one of the best humanity had. Today was special. Today he would fly the Retribution, Earth's first true warship. Nervous? Asked Maria Santos, the chief engineer. She was walking beside him, carrying a data pad. A little, Jake admitted. This is different from anything we've built before. Maria smiled. It should be. Dr. Kevin Shaw and his team spent 3 years on this. It's not just a ship. It's a weapon. The Retribution was beautiful in a deadly way. It was sleek and dark, built for speed and power. Jake climbed into the pilot's seat and felt the ship come to life around him. The controls responded to his touch like the ship was part of him. All systems green, Maria's voice came through his helmet. You're clear for launch. Jake pushed the throttle forward. The Retribution shot out of the hangar like a bullet. The acceleration pressed him back into his seat, but it was smooth. When he tested the turns, the ship moved like it was reading his mind. How fast can she go? Jake asked. Try the quantum drive, Maria said. But stay in the solar system. Jake activated the new drive system. Space seemed to bend around him. In seconds, he had crossed a distance that would have taken hours before. He laughed with pure joy. This is incredible. Back at the station, Dr. Shaw watched the test with President Helen Carter. The president had aged in the past 3 years. The weight of preparing an entire planet for war had been heavy. The weapons test next, Shaw said. Jake lined up on an old satellite marked for destruction. He activated the rail gun. There was no sound in space, but he felt the ship shudder slightly as it fired. The projectile moved at a significant fraction of light speed. The satellite didn't just explode. It vaporized. Direct hit, Jake reported. That thing is powerful. Nina Ross, an intelligence officer, stood in the command center with Admiral Hayes. She had news, and it wasn't good. The Krothok are moving again. They've destroyed 2 more civilizations in the past year. Frank studied the star map. They're getting closer to us. Yes, sir, Nina confirmed. And our sources say they remember Earth. They're planning something. Paul Bennett, a commander who had survived the loss of his brother on the horizon's edge, stepped forward. Then we don't wait for them. We set a trap. The plan was risky. 12 warships, all brand new, would hide near where the horizon's edge had died. They would leave a mining station there, crewed by volunteers. The station would send out signals making Earth look weak and desperate. Gary Lewis volunteered to run the station. He was older, a veteran of Earth's old space program. If this brings those monsters back, I want to be there, he said. For 2 months, they prepared. The warships practiced coordination. The crews trained until they could fight in their sleep. Jake and 11 other pilots learned to work as one unit. Finally, everything was ready. The 12 warships moved into position, their new stealth technology making them invisible. The mining station began broadcasting its signals, calling out into the dark. Now we wait, Paul said to his crew. And when they come, we show them what happens when you attack humanity. Lauren Pierce, the scientist who had developed the stealth technology, monitored the systems carefully. The cloaking is holding perfectly. They won't see us until we want them to. Steve Jordan sat at the weapons console of Paul's ship. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. He had lost his sister on the horizon's edge. He had waited 3 years for this moment. Days passed. Then weeks. Some of the crew started to wonder if the Krothok would even come. Then, on day 43, the sensors picked up something. Ships were approaching. A lot of ships. Count them, Paul ordered. The sensor officer's voice was tight. 47 enemy vessels, sir. It's an entire fleet. Paul smiled grimly. Good. Let's end this once and for all. He opened a channel to all 12 human ships. All vessels, prepare for combat. Wait for my signal. Let them get close. Let them think they've won. Then we teach them to fear Earth. The trap was set. The Krothok were coming. And humanity was ready. War leader Thexron stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human mining station on the screen. 3 years ago, he had destroyed their pathetic exploration ship. Now they had barely managed to build one mining station. Humans were weak, just as he thought. Subcommander Vexlar, Thexron called out. Prepare to attack. We will take that station and then find their homeworld. Vexlar hesitated. War leader, the station seems too easy. Should we scan more carefully? Thexron laughed, the same laugh Jack Peterson had seen 3 years ago. You worry too much. These creatures can barely leave their own planet. Attack. The Krothok fleet of 47 warships moved forward. They broadcast a message on all frequencies, telling humanity they would be enslaved or destroyed. On the mining station, Gary Lewis and his volunteers watched them come. Any time now, Commander Bennett, Gary said quietly into his communicator. Hidden in the darkness of space, Paul Bennett watched his display. The Krothok ships were exactly where he wanted them. All ships, he said calmly. Decloak. Fire at will. 12 human warships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the Krothok fleet. The aliens had seconds to react before the first shots fired. Steve Jordan pressed the firing button on his console. The railgun sent a projectile flying at incredible speed. It hit a Krothok cruiser and punched straight through, hitting 2 more ships behind it. All 3 vessels exploded. 3 kills with 1 shot, Steve said with satisfaction. Across the battlefield, the other human ships opened fire. The Krothok had never faced weapons like these. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Claire Anderson led her fighter squadron out of the Retribution's hangar. Behind her fighters came thousands of small drones, each one carrying explosives. They swarmed over the Krothok ships like angry insects. Thexron screamed orders at his crew. Return fire. Destroy them. But his ships were confused. They had expected an easy fight against primitives. This was something else entirely. Jake Morrison piloted the Retribution through the battle with precision. His targeting computer locked onto a Krothok destroyer. He fired the main cannon. The enemy ship broke in half. Retribution to all ships, Jake called out. They're trying to retreat. Don't let any escape. The battle was chaos for the Krothok but perfectly coordinated for the humans. Every ship knew exactly where the others were and what they were doing. When one ship needed support, another was already there. Roy Mitchell's ship, the Vengeance, took heavy damage when 3 Krothok vessels focused their fire on it. Warning lights flashed across his bridge. Hull breach on multiple decks, his engineer reported. We're losing power. Roy didn't hesitate. All crew to escape pods. Launch immediately. He looked at the nearest enemy ship, a massive carrier. Set collision course. His crew evacuated while Roy stayed at the controls. The Vengeance, engines failing, rammed into the Krothok carrier at full speed. Both ships exploded, but the carrier's destruction took out 2 more Krothok vessels that were too close. Paul watched Roy's sacrifice and felt both pride and grief. Make it count, he whispered. All ships, increase attack intensity. For the Vengeance. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, every single Krothok ship was destroyed or disabled. Only one ship remained mostly intact, the flagship where Thexron commanded. Board that ship, Paul ordered. I want their commander alive. Marines in armored suits cut through the flagship's hull. They found Thexron on his bridge, wounded but alive. The war leader who had laughed at dying humans now looked terrified. They brought him to Paul's ship. Greg Taylor, the communications specialist, had prepared everything. Every known alien communication channel was ready. Paul stood in front of Thexron with cameras recording. 3 years ago, you destroyed our ship. You laughed while our people died. You thought we were weak. Thexron said nothing. His yellow eyes showed fear for the first time in his life. Today, your entire fleet is destroyed, Paul continued. We are sending this message to every species in the galaxy. This is Earth's warning. Attack humanity again, and we will not stop. We will hunt you across the stars. We will find your worlds. And we will turn them to ash. You had your chance to leave us alone. You chose war. Now face the consequences. Greg sent the message across the galaxy. Within hours, every civilized species would see it. They would see the destroyed Krothok fleet. They would see Thexron, the feared war leader, captured and broken. Paul looked at Thexron one last time. You wanted to know about humans. Now you know. We remember. We prepare. And we never forgive those who attack us without cause. The galaxy had heard Earth's warning. Now they would have to decide what to do about it. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Ambassador Kelly Wright stood quietly in the center while alien representatives shouted at each other in dozens of languages. The translation devices could barely keep up. Chancellor Sorvan, a tall peaceful being from the Veltari species, tried to restore order. Please, council members, we must discuss this calmly. Calmly, screeched council member Lixera. Her species, the Kentari, looked like large birds with colorful feathers. The humans destroyed an entire fleet. 47 ships. They must be punished for this violence. Kelly stepped forward. We defended ourselves. The Krothok attacked us first, 3 years ago. They killed 43 of our people who were on a peaceful mission. That does not justify genocide. Lixera shouted. We didn't commit genocide, Kelly said firmly. We destroyed a military fleet that came to attack us again. There's a difference. While the council argued, Tony Rivera sat in Earth's intelligence office, analyzing data. He was good at finding patterns, and he had found something interesting. 17 different species had filed complaints about Krothok attacks over the past 50 years. The council had done nothing. They let it happen, Tony said to himself. They let the Krothok kill thousands, but now they're angry at us for fighting back. He sent his findings to Helen Brooks, who was the daughter of Captain Daniel Brooks. She had become a representative for Earth, carrying on her father's legacy. When she saw Tony's data, she knew what to do. Helen arranged secret meetings with the 17 species. They met in a private room, away from the council's eyes. Commander Zephyros of the Anthari was the first to speak. His people were warriors, covered in thick armor-like skin. We have waited decades for someone to stand against the Krothok, Zephyros said. The council talks and talks but does nothing. Your people acted. A representative from the Minarii, a species that looked like crystals that could move and think, added, the Krothok destroyed 3 of our colony worlds. We asked the council for help. They sent investigators who wrote reports. The Krothok attacked again while the council was still reading. Helen listened to each species tell their story. The Krothok had been terrorizing this part of the galaxy for a long time. The council knew but did nothing because the Krothok were strong and the council members were afraid. Earth is offering an alliance, Helen said. Not for conquest. For defense. We share our technology, and we protect each other. The 17 species agreed immediately. They had been waiting for someone to lead. Meanwhile, Sarah Collins, one of Earth's best intelligence agents, intercepted a Krothok transmission. She brought it directly to General Patrick Stone, who commanded Earth's military forces. It's bad, General, Sarah said. The Krothok have a new leader called Drakkor. He's gathering every ship they have. 300 warships. Patrick felt his blood run cold. 300. That's their entire military. Yes, sir. They're stripping defenses from every world they control. This is personal for them now. We humiliated them, and they want revenge. Patrick called an emergency meeting with President Carter, Admiral Hayes, and his senior staff. They gathered around a holographic display showing the Krothok fleet forming up. 300 ships, President Carter said quietly. Can we win? Admiral Hayes looked at the numbers. We have 40 warships now. Even with our technological advantage, those odds are difficult. We could fortify Earth, suggested Vice Admiral Christine Moore. Turn our home system into a death trap. They'll just destroy everything else first, Patrick said. Every colony, every station. Then they'll come for Earth. A young officer named Brandon Cole had been listening quietly. He was a tactical genius, promoted quickly because of his brilliant strategies. Now he spoke up. We don't fight defensively, and we don't wait for them to attack, Brandon said. We hit them first. Not their fleet. Their worlds. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, President Carter ordered. Brandon pointed at the map. They're gathering all their ships in one place. That means their colonies are undefended. We strike every major Krothok world at the same time. Destroy their shipyards, their factories, their military bases. Without support, their fleet becomes just ships floating in space with nowhere to go. Admiral Hayes studied the plan. It's risky. We'd have to split our forces. It's war, Patrick said. Everything is risky. But the commander is right. If we defend, we lose slowly. If we attack, we might win quickly. President Carter looked around the room. Every face showed the same determination. We didn't want this war. We gave them a warning. They chose to ignore it. She stood up. Prepare the fleet. We attack in 1 week. The orders went out. Every human warship prepared for battle. Crews said goodbye to their families, knowing many wouldn't return. But they also knew they were fighting for humanity's survival. The Krothok were coming with 300 ships. But Earth wasn't going to wait for them. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just defend. When pushed far enough, they struck back with everything they had. Fleet Admiral Raymond Clark stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching 30 warships prepare to jump. This was the largest military operation in human history. They weren't going to one target. They were going to 15 different Krothok worlds at the same time. All ships report ready, his communications officer reported. Raymond took a deep breath. Execute Operation Prometheus Unbound. All strike groups, jump now. Space bent around the 30 ships as they activated their quantum drives. They split into groups, each heading to a different target. Raymond led the main group toward Krelvar, the Krothok industrial heart. Captain Derek Foster commanded the Thunderbolt, leading the strike on Krelvar. When they arrived, they found the planet defended by only 3 old patrol ships. The massive shipyards orbiting the planet had no protection. Target the construction docks first, Derek ordered. Then the fuel refineries. His ships moved with precision. Rail guns fired, and the shipyards exploded one after another. Each facility destroyed was one less ship the Krothok could build. The 3 patrol ships tried to fight back but were destroyed in minutes. On another world, Commander Julia Green led an attack on the Krothok Military Academy. This was where they trained their officers and warriors. The facilities were on the surface, large complexes that covered hundreds of square miles. Precision strikes only, Julia reminded her crew. Hit the military targets. Nothing else. Her weapons officer nodded. The strikes were perfect. Training centers, weapons storage, command buildings, all destroyed. Without trained officers, the Krothok military would fall apart even if they had ships. Across Krothok space, the same scene played out. Human ships appeared, destroyed military targets, and jumped away before any response could arrive. The Krothok Empire was burning, and their fleet was too far away to help. Supreme Leader Drakor received the reports on his flagship. His 300 ships were gathered and ready to attack Earth. But now his worlds were under attack. "We must return to defend our territory," one of his commanders shouted. "No!" Drakor roared. "That is what they want. We continue to Earth. Once we destroy their homeworld, they will have to surrender." But his fleet was already fracturing. Ship captains were receiving messages from their home worlds, begging for help. Some ships broke formation and jumped away without orders. The perfect fleet was becoming a mob. Admiral Hayes watched from Earth as the Krothok fleet started to move. "They're coming," he said. "But they're disorganized now. Brandon's plan is working." The Krothok fleet arrived at Earth's solar system in scattered groups instead of one unified force. Hayes's defense fleet was waiting, positioned perfectly. "Let them come to us," Hayes ordered. "Make them fight through our defensive grid." The battle for Earth began. But this time, the Krothok were tired, confused, and angry. Their coordination was gone. Human ships picked them apart group by group. Captain Vincent Price commanded a stealth ship called the Shadow. While the main battle raged, he slipped past the fighting. His target was the Krothok's mobile command base, a converted moon they had brought with them. Launching Planet Cracker missile, Vincent said calmly. The missile flew straight and true. It hit the moon and burrowed deep before detonating. The explosion was visible from Earth. The moon shattered, taking Drakor and his command staff with it. Without their leader, the Krothok fleet fell apart completely. Ships surrendered or tried to flee. The battle was over in hours, not days. Lieutenant Sofia Martinez was chosen to accept the formal surrender aboard the Retribution. The remaining Krothok commanders were brought before her. They looked defeated, their pride gone. "The terms are simple," Sofia said. "Complete demilitarization. Every warship turned over to us or destroyed. Reparations to every species you've attacked. Your leaders will stand trial for war crimes." The Krothok had no choice. They agreed to everything. 10 years passed. Ambassador Kelly Wright stood before the Galactic Council again, but this time was different. 17 species stood with her. The alliance Earth had formed. "We didn't want war," Kelly said. "We wanted to explore the stars in peace. But when forced to fight, we fought to win. Now we offer something better. Peace, but peace with strength. Join our alliance, and no one will dare attack you again." Species after species joined. The galaxy was changing. The old council that had done nothing while the weak suffered was being replaced by something new. Dr. Kevin Shaw shared Earth's defensive technology with allied species. Not weapons, but shields and detection systems. Tools to protect, not attack. On Earth, a monument was built listing every human who had died in the war. At the top were the names of the Horizon's Edge crew. Captain Daniel Brooks's final log entry was carved in stone. "Tell them we were here." Captain Lisa Martin, now promoted and gray-haired, commanded a new exploration ship. She was heading out beyond known space, looking for new worlds and new civilizations. But this time, she traveled with escorts. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had given one warning. The Krothok ignored it and paid the price that a young alien student in a classroom asked her teacher about the old days when pirates raided freely. The teacher, a Veltari scholar, smiled sadly. "They attacked a species called humans," the teacher explained. "The humans warned them once. Just once. The raiders didn't listen. Now humans and their allies keep the peace." The galaxy learned that some warnings should be taken seriously. The student looked at an image of Earth, a blue world far away. "Are humans dangerous?" "Only to those who attack the innocent," the teacher said. "Remember that, child. Remember it always."